Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
The all-new 2026 Hyundai Palisade Hybrid doesn't just turn heads. It commands respect. With its stunning exterior, luxurious interior with available captain seats, and spacious third-row seating and equipped with advanced technology, you and the family are making a statement before you even step out. Okay, Hyundai. Visit HyundaiUSA.com to learn more and experience the all-new 2026 Palisade Hybrid today.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Financial Freedom Podcast. I'm really delighted about today's guest, Dr. Sharon Hausman-Cohen, and she is co-founder of Intellx, a software company based out in Austin, Texas. And we're going to hear more all about what her company does for clinicians, patients, and for those of you interested, how you can get involved. So I'm really happy to have her on and have a fellow physician entrepreneur on the podcast. So Sharon, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I know we connected at a Mike conference in Atlanta, Georgia, the Concierge Medicine Today, and I really met a lot of great founders and entrepreneurs and really happy to have you on. Describe your journey and who you are and what you do for clinicians and patients.
Sure. So my journey actually started with me wanting to become a researcher. I was going down that track thinking I was going to do a PhD in medicine. In college, I had met a Nobel Prize laureate that had discovered the immunology molecule. And he was like, yes, you should go into research. You're going to love it. And I went to Harvard to do a PhD in medicine and hated it because I spent like all these hours in the lab with a pipette and not with people. And you're working on one protein and it was not fun. But everything in life has a purpose. And it turns out my background in research and in genetics and other things came in in molecular biology. It all came in really handy because what happened is during my medical career, and so I graduated medical school about 34 years ago. And what happened is you have the 23andMe revolution where people started bringing you their 23andMe and going, can you help me use this to prevent dementia? Can you help me use this to understand why there's macular degeneration or heart disease or whatever, Parkinson's in their family? And really, it was not set up for that. So I, with my friend who became my co-founder, Carol Billich, we had just recently transformed our practice to a concierge practice. And we're like, wouldn't it be great if we do a precision medicine practice? And we looked at over at least 6 or 7 different DNA tools out there, and none of them were right for us as a physician practice because they might have a little bit of nutrigenomics. There were ones with pharmacogenomics, but there was not any tool that helped me answer that question of why is this person getting cognitive decline or cardiac disease? Or again, now we expand to autism, dementia, all kinds of depression, anxiety. We do it in many disease states now. And what we realized when we went into the literature is that was really just not who the founders were. The nutritionists and PhDs had done a lot of the business people for the direct to consumer, but there was no company where the lead scientist was a scientist/physician. And the other thing that made us unique is we had a very strong integrative medicine bend. We know that if you take something like Alzheimer's, or I'm going to even say just broader dementia, yes, there are things that they're studying. There are some drugs, they're not very good. But the reason that drugs fail in complex illness is not due to one gene. There is no Alzheimer's gene for 95% of the people who get Alzheimer's. So you have to be able to look at things that relate to nutrient transporters, mitochondria, how you process your different kinds of energy and sugar. Can you get enough hormones to keep your brain healthy? All these different factors that are super important. And what we did is we combined our strong science and knowledge science knowledge with the integrative medicine so that we made genomics actionable. And that's really, if you were to ask me, what does IntellxxDNA do? It makes genomics actionable. So for any disease state, you're still going to have any information about how medications work on the specific genes that contribute, because that's important. But you're also going to have other things that are really important. So heart disease, high cholesterol is important, and you're still going to address high cholesterol many times with statins. But what about the person who has a gene that makes them put more calcium in their arteries? That's a huge cause and contributing factor to atherosclerosis, to heart disease. It can more than double your risk of having heart disease before age 65. That gene is modulated with vitamin K2. So now all of a sudden we can give a precision plan to wellness. And that's really what we do.
Fascinating. And a lot of genomic testing is really nebulous to a lot of the listeners. For one thing is talking about is how does this test work? If you're a patient and you want to utilize these tests, how does it work?
Yes. So IntellxDNA is a category under the FDA called clinical decision support tool, meaning because we have so much information in there, because we do talk about diet, lifestyle, but also supplements and medications and how they relate to specific medical concerns, we are only allowed to sell to licensed healthcare practitioners. So most of our users are physicians, whether MD or DO, nurse practitioners, PAs, naturopathic doctors from licensed naturopathic programs. But that means for the consumer that wants it, they end up going to our website to find someone who is licensed in their state. Many of the people who are using IntellxDNA do offer telemedicine. So it's not that hard to find someone, but you do have to work with someone licensed. And I also think it's also really important because remember, we don't look at just one disease state at a time. We look at, so if somebody orders our medical report, we're going to be looking at heart disease and diabetes and obesity and osteoporosis and anesthesia response and lots of different things, even blood clotting risk. And if you're looking at our brain report, we're looking at genes that contribute to all kinds of things that can relate to brain health, whether it's different causes of cognitive decline, et cetera. And so you do need a guide because it's a lot of information. And so I think that for consumers, I would say, I don't think that you get the most out of a direct to consumer experience because having that ability for your clinician or physician to interpret it with you is going to make it a more worthwhile investment.
Yeah. And that's one of the types of genomic tests is that direct consumer is the one that you can order. Talk about this whole genome or whole exome sequencing versus Intellax.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people who will say, are you using whole genomic sequencing or whole exome sequencing? And I say those are great names, but not necessarily the products you're looking for. Because if you were to order whole genome sequencing through a traditional company, and there's many of them available, the report you would get back would be focused on pathogenic gene variants. So what a whole genome, so your whole genome is 3 billion base pairs. That's a lot. Think about how much data, that just writing them out the numbers, it's a lot of data storage. So they don't report, and of those 3 billion base pairs, there's more than 1 million SNPs or little areas of variation. So again, what would you do with a report with 1 million variations? It's not useful. So what they report on are genes that have been labeled as pathogenic, meaning disease causing. So you might find out if you're a cystic fibrosis carrier or a carrier of muscular dystrophy. Tay-Sachs, you wouldn't be alive if you had, but you might find that you're a carrier. And so you're going to find these pathogenic gene variants, but most pathogenic diseases present early in life. Somebody's born with a severe seizure disorder or neurological symptoms. And so for the average person, especially for adults, but even the average child, you don't get much benefit. And if you talk to 100 people that have done whole genomic sequencing and say, what did you learn from it? Most of them are like, not really much. Whereas with IntellxDNA, we are looking at common chronic diseases, and the gene variants that we look at are not pathogenic. They don't cause disease by themselves. But if you take, again, the topic of heart disease, when you have some genes that lead to calcification of the arteries and maybe another one that might lead to some microclotting differences and another one that can affect inflammation in the heart or oxidative stress, all of those might double your risk independently, but together can create significant risk and a lot of people have heart disease, and it gives you a roadmap. The same thing with cognitive decline. Not everybody, but many people have heard of ApoE4 as an Alzheimer's gene, but there's ApoE4 alone is not enough to cause Alzheimer's. So if you have a family history of dementia, or you are worried about it because you know you're a ApoE4, or you're starting to have memory concerns, you need a lot more information of that. There's gene variants that can relate to the blood becoming too thick that cause essentially ischemia or not enough oxygen to the brain. There are variants, again, that can affect choline transport, and these all have huge effects as well, even things that affect blood flow through nitric oxide. And they're all going to be different because for one, you might be using something that opens up the blood vessels like a beetroot extract. And another one, you might be using something that breaks down fibrinogen. And so there's different kinds of enzymes, nattokinase and lumbrokinase. And for one, you might be using choline. And so again, there's most people, what they come away with when they do IntellxDNA is they come away with what I call fundamentals. So which are the most important nutrients that your body's not good at making? Do you not recycle vitamin C well? Or are you someone who needs more CoQ10? Are there specific types of inflammation you're more prone to? And how do you address those? Are there problems with how you remove certain chemicals? We call that our detox pathways. Is it pesticides? Is it more mercury? Is it more molds, et cetera? And how do you address those? And then all of those relate to chronic disease, but then also for whatever topics you're of concern, whether it's your mental health, your brain health, your overall kind of medical health, what are some of these things that contribute to your individual risk and how can you address them? And we're also great for doctors because we've always wanted to practice this kind of medicine. And we train the doctor to think in that way and give them the tool so they can actually understand root cause medicine right before them without having to individually research for each patient. The research is right there.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to tell you that Michelob Ultra, the official beer partner of the NBA, is bringing NBA fans closer than ever this season with chances to win great prizes, including courtside tickets. Enter now at michelobultra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Courtside 25 to 26. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 plus. Begins on October 1st, 2025 and ends on June 30th, 2026. Multiple entry periods. See official rules at michelobultra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, prizes, and details.
This episode is brought to you by Nature's Bounty. Nature's Bounty believes your body is brilliant, naturally designed to thrive, inside and out. For those always looking for new ways to support your health from head to heels, Nature's Bounty has a range of over 400 vitamins and supplements born from 50 years of trust and care. Nature's Bounty. It's in your nature. Visit naturesbounty.com to learn more.
Yeah. And for the clinicians listening to this, what's interesting is what sort of benefits of using this clinical decision support making tool in either their current practice or their concierge medicine practice and the results they've seen with patient outcomes.
Yeah. So you and I met, Chris, at a concierge medicine conference, and we were talking a little about this. One of the benefits, I'm going to talk about the benefit to your practice and the benefit to your patients. And I think that they are both important. The benefit to patients is obvious. My patients, they don't like leaving the practice. They stay. I thought maybe people would come for a year, get their genomics done, see what's interesting, but they stay because they love precision medicine. And all of a sudden, I was just going through to prepare for some case studies I'm presenting of some of my first patients in the longitudinal 9-year. We have 9 years of data on them now. And their cognition, these are people who came in with mild cognitive impairment. So if you know there's a scoring system 1 to 30 and you want to be 27 to 30, you really want to be 29, 20, or 30. And they came in the 23s, 24s. And now 9 years later, they're still in the 28 to 30 range. So, they got better and stayed better. So the obvious benefit to patients is they understand what's going on, how to take care of their body. The benefit to their practice was one that we didn't know when we founded the practice. But one, patients stay, and that's great for as a physician, you don't want to constantly have to find new patients. And so if you're a concierge doctor and what you're offering is an executive physical with maybe some more pulmonary function testing or a stress test or some special labs. That's great the first year, but what added value does it have the next year? Whereas genomics, there's so much wealth of information in there that you might one year be talking about their cardiac health, and then another year, if when you're having longer visits, they may have questions about brain health or their bones, and you can constantly go back to it. So it's always adding value. But it also adds value to your ability to train other doctors and your practice. And this was a huge unexpected value, because one of the things for those of us in concierge medicine is we, of course, want to give great care to our patients. And most of the founders of concierge medicine practices have figured that out. That's why they're successful in concierge medicine. But how do you train that younger doctor coming in who's maybe 1 or 2 or even 4 or 5 years out of residency to get those kinds of results that you get? And genomics, when you make your practice, instead of being about you, so it's not the Dr. Lou's practice, Dr. Lou's concierge medicine, but becomes a precision concierge medicine practice,
Wow.
all of a sudden, you can train another doctor. You can start to exit and say, I'm cutting down my patients, but Dr. So-and-so is young, and the fields that we're going into with genomics and understanding, this is she or he is very competent in it, and you're going to love her. And what we found is we had extremely few patients leave the practice. So that was great, it lets me bring on a young doctor, but it also lets you have an exit strategy, because most of us eventually want to retire and want to send our kids to college, want to go and see a little bit of the world. And when you want to get to a point of retiring, it dramatically improves your practice valuation when you've been able to show that you can train younger doctors, have retained members, and get good outcomes. So I think that helps the practice and the patients both.
Yeah. The next question on people's mind is, how much is it cost? Is it covered by insurance, and all of the costs related to this new tool?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we don't sell individual reports. We do have a small report on depression and anxiety and a small cardiometabolic report, but I actually don't recommend the small ones. I recommend the slightly larger reports, and I'll tell you why. But so the average report is the reports range from $750 to $1,700, depending on what you're ordering. But a typical report for example, our brain optimization report, it is about 500 and so, maybe even 600 SNPs. And I think the brain is about 450. It's over 600 if you're doing with medical. So you're getting many hundreds of pieces of data. And for each SNP, you're going to have all these different clinical significance, what to do about it, typical dosing, enough information to create a map. So what the patients are paying for is not it's not the sequencing. You can go get sequencing somewhere, probably at this point for a couple $100. I don't know. I haven't looked lately, but your sequencing is coming down in price. But what they're paying for is the millions of hours, or many, at least hundreds of thousands, the years of hours of research that allowed us to build this report and give you a report that is clinically significant, used in research, getting outcomes, has publications. And so it's a one-time value. It is more expensive than other direct-to-consumer genomic tools, but as one of my friends said, it's a completely different animal. It's not apples to oranges, it's apples to steak. So it's a whole different food group. And then you have to pay the physician who will interpret it. And so that is the one negative for the consumer, is obviously they have to find a clinician. But again, it's a one-time investment. So I tell people, if I told you that taking a trip to Hawaii was going to keep you out of a nursing home for years, because you're going to improve your cardiac health, you're going to improve your overall sense of well-being, pain, fatigue, and your brain health, would you go take that trip to Hawaii? Absolutely. And so it's that one-time investment that you get to then reap the benefits from for years and years to come.
Interesting. Another question is, because you talked about 3 billion base pairs, all this information, how are you using artificial intelligence to help interpret or help make recommendations?
So that is a great question. So IntellxDNA was built with human intelligence, not artificial intelligence, because remember, we were founded in 2016. So we've been around for 9 years and the field wasn't there. But the field has come a long way. On the other hand, artificial intelligence hallucinates and gets things wrong, especially in genomics, because it has to do with the science itself. There are different ways. There's 5 different nomenclatures for labeling a gene variant. There's the forward strand, the reverse strand. There's different numeric systems and such. And so we've checked it out, and you can't just build a report on AI. On the other hand, we have so much data in our database. We are actively working, and this will come out in 2026, not later this year, because this year's almost over. So in 2026, we will be launching the ability for the clinicians to have help in writing their summary, which is going to be tremendously valuable to our patients and clinicians, because when I've timed myself, when I'm like typing out my genomic report for patients, I'm just not that fast of a typist. And so if I can say, gosh, I want we already filter it for what we call a hotspot. So if I already could be clicking and going, I want to talk about cardiac and I want to talk about this, and the tool can see what that is important for that patient, the ability to then have the tool write you a sample summary of what you've chosen, and then of course you have to accept and edit it, is going to be a huge improvement. So you can look for that coming out later this year.
Yeah, amazing. And for the clinicians interested in incorporating this tool into their practice, how can they connect with you, contact you, reach out to you?
Absolutely. So if you go to the IntellxDNA website, IntellxxDNA, and it's because it's an intelligent approach to DNA. And the 2 X's are because Carol and myself are both women co-founders. You can request a demo. And so if you're a new clinician, go there, request a demo. The reason we encourage physicians and other licensed healthcare practitioners to request a demo is it's a really great tool that has handouts on it. It has all kinds of layers of information, and we want you to know how to use it. We also want to get you enrolled in our free Genomics University, as we affectionately call it, so you have the ability to constantly learn. We want to make sure you know about our mentoring program, because when results come back, we go over, you get 1 visit with me and 2 with my associate to review the results. And so schedule a demo. They'll help you open an account, get everything organized. They'll give you a discount code for your first few reports to get you started. And I will just want to do a kind of, not a warning, but a kind of thought. If you are not interested in root cause of medicine and not open to not everything being a drug, the tool's not yet ready for you, because this tool was designed for clinicians that had an interest, at least, in integrative medicine. But even if you are not integrative medicine trained, but you are integrative interested or functional medicine interested, then it's a great tool for you, because going through our training will give you so much more of those kind of support systems. Because if you think about, one of the main causes for cognitive decline is mitochondrial components. You have a damage to the mitochondrial membranes. There is really good research about how we can repair mitochondrial membranes. The guy, Garth Nicholson, got nominated for a Nobel Prize for his research on how to repair it. But it's using some membrane phospholipids and some other cofactors, and those aren't prescription. So you have to be open to the fact that every single thing in our tool is evidence-based. I did not lose my Harvard academia when I switched to working on this. So everything is evidence-based. So long as you're open-minded, you're going to love it. And in fact, I think that it's a piece that's been missing that prevents the joy of medicine. You have these people here, and we're starting to try to put diagnoses into these algorithms. If you have depression, it must be serotonin. If you have heart disease, it must be cholesterol. And when you get away from the algorithms and you talk to the patients about what's really going on, it's so exciting and so rewarding for the doctor and the patients.
Yeah, I really love that. And I really love the work that you're doing. And thanks so much for coming on. And for the audience, Sharon's resources will be in the show notes, and be sure to check out our website and connect with her on LinkedIn, email. And thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Wishing you a very happy half-off holiday, because right now Mint Mobile is offering you the gift of 50% off unlimited. To be clear, that's half price, not half the service. And Mint is still premium unlimited wireless for a great price. So that means a half day, yeah?
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
What I bought? A new Blink Mini 2K Plus smart security camera. What I got? 2K clarity sharp enough to see every detail of home when I'm away. Plus audio like I'm in the room, not with my bestie traveling to another city. Plus easy plug-in setup to install faster than skipping through podcast ads. But you'd never skip ads, right? Plus, I got all of this for just $49.99. Blink Mini 2K Plus. Mini camera, max performance. Shop now at amazon.com/blink.